been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tony here at the One Hell of Life Outdoor Podcast. What is happening? I got a lot of stuff to unpack for you guys tonight. I'm going to be talking about stuff with the Canada prairies. We're going to talk about some drought history. It's a cycle ducks have endured for hundreds of years. We're going to talk about the current prairie pothole conditions. We're going to talk about Bass Pro and Max Prairie Wings merger. What do you think about that? I'm also going to break down some waterfowl regulation changes for this upcoming season. We're going to talk about Arkansas, Texas, New Jersey, Maryland, Nevada, and Washington. Just some highlights on that. You guys, they're making some good changes here and some not so good ones, but that's the way it always works. And then we're going to talk about some big Ducks Unlimited news. We're going to drop down into a quick farm bill update and then pintails. What does everybody know about pintails? Are they changing? Are the limits changing? What's going on about it? So I'm going to break it all down for you guys. So let's dive into it. Let's see. First thing tonight, let's talk about the Canada prairie. So here's the one thing I want you guys to understand is, I've done some research into this, and what you need to understand is that the droughts have been happening in Canada for all of time. So think about this. The ducks all waterfowl have had to endure the changes that climate brings to them. And the fact is our climate always changes. We're just here for a small piece of it, and I mean that is humanity. And so, if you go back to the 20s, you can see that there's a ton of significant drought that happened during that time. In the early 1900s, there was a bad one, I think from 99 to 2003. So my point is that there's a lot of things that tie into that. And, it's necessary for land to do this for habitat for waterfowl. If you've ever seen a stagnant pool of water, for example, when you see that water's not moving, there's nothing going on with it. Most of the vegetation's dead in it. And, it's just not reproducing. And so what happens is, if you're not familiar with this, is that when land dries out, and then has the ability to get wet again, it goes through a massive change. And it is I don't know how to explain it. It's more like an explosion of life that happens for waterfowl, but everything in between there, from tadpoles to frogs to you name it. There's a lot of things that go into that, but it's very necessary for these droughts to happen. And we're going to talk about pintails and stuff later. But one thing that I want you guys to all know about pintails is that the reason why we've seen such a significant drop going back several years was because of this drought. Because pintails, their breeding habits are completely, I don't know if they're completely different from every species, but most species, where if they can't breed, and have their young where they're typically their nesting habitat is, let's say it dries up, they just won't lay eggs. And they won't until they go and find a new spot. And that could take a year or two. So that really sets back the populations of the pintails increasing. So, but now we're starting to see a shift of that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But, something that goes along with this drought is, what's going on specifically now with the habitat conditions. And I can tell you guys, you can just look up the maps. It's not good. I mean, as far as drought conditions go, but again, waterfowl will sustain themselves. They go to other areas and divert to other areas, and that's what we've seen with the pintails. That's what they've done. I know that they've went over in a big part of western Montana, or maybe it's eastern Montana. Somebody correct me, but it's there in Montana. But that's been a significant part of the pintail population increasing. But yeah, right now, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at the breeding conditions for ducks, and it's not that good. I mean, it's pretty dry up there, no matter where you look at. So, I wouldn't expect anything supernatural to come. Is triple tail fishing or flounder gigging on your bucket list? Williamson Outfitters is located along one of the most beautiful areas the Gulf Coast has to offer, known as Florida's Forgotten Coast. They are family owned and operated and have over 200 years of combined fishing and hunting experience. They provide lodging, incredible coastal duck hunting, gator hunting, fishing, gigging, scalping, and custom boat tours along this beautiful stretch of Florida. Mention the One Hell of a Life podcast when booking and get 15% off your next charter, folks. Spots are filling up fast, so call or text Captain Chris at 850-251-8650 or visit floridaducks.com. From the numbers that we get after they go in there and assess what the brood populations are and stuff. So, but we'll see. Some of us believe that whenever they say it's not good, it's good. So we'll see how that goes. But the next thing I really wanted to dive into was this whole merger with Bass Pro and Max Prairie Wings. So let's talk about it. Personally, I am super excited about it. I think it's going to be cool, but I know that there's some of you out there that feel like maybe they're stepping in on your brand or something like that. I think this merger can only be a great thing. I mean, they're both, if you're not aware, both organizations have a deep backing in conservation. They're incredible at what they do. And to me, it's just like they're going to turn into a superstar. So anyway, hats off to those guys. I'm looking forward to see the changes on that. They promise that it's going to be a good thing for employees. So, I know everybody, anytime there's a merger like that, they're always like, all right, who's getting cut? But I don't know that's going to happen with this. I think it's going to be a pretty big thing because I think they're going to be on a stage here for a while everybody watches this happen. But let's dive into some waterfowl regulation changes. You guys, there's some pretty significant changes going on over the next season. So let's just dive into it. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to pull up my notes. Okay. All right. Let's start with Texas. Big one. They eliminated the light goose conservation order season for spring 2025. Texans, I don't know how much of an impact that is because I'm not familiar with the snow goose population down there, but I'm sure there's going to be somebody that maybe was rocking them. I don't know, but my guess is that they eliminated that just because the numbers aren't there. So they extended the regular goose season in the eastern zone by 19 days for light geese. They reduced the bag limit on light geese to 5 daily. It was formerly 10. And they increased the daily bag limit of white-fronted geese to 5, which used to be 2, in the western zone. And it says, note that white-fronted geese are part of the dark geese aggregate bag limit that includes Canada geese and cackling geese. So I guess basically what they're saying there is they're going to count into that. So you got to take that in consideration. But it looks like if you're just going out and shooting specs, you're going to be able to shoot 5. So that's pretty cool. I guess the spec numbers are up down there, which kind of blows my mind going into the next state, and that is Arkansas. And the very first thing on here is they're reducing the bag limit of specs, or what we call white-fronted geese, to 2, which that's what it was, but last year it went to 3. And yet they shortened the season. I believe this is the second time. There might be times before my knowledge, but they're reducing it to 69 days. So I know there's going to be a lot of spec hunters and outfitters that are not going to be happy with that. I know it's about every day you can get paid, and if they're reducing the amount of days, then that's essentially pulling money out of our outfitters' pockets. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'll have to think on it, actually. But I guess off the cuff, I'm not. I mean, I've got a good buddy. As you guys know, Kade's a good friend of ours, and if that's going to affect his income, then I'm not happy about it. So enough said about that. But the other thing that's crazy, and I'm quoting this exact change here from Delta Waterfowl. They've eliminated restrictions on the use of spinning wing and motion decoys on state-owned wildlife management areas. Now, let's talk about that. There's a lot of people out there that are losing their shit right now. I think there's a lot of people out there that are shotgunning a bush light right now because of this. But me personally, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, we use all the other tools for success out there for deer, turkeys, you name it, and I don't see a problem with it. I just don't see how the ducks are smart, and they'll learn from it. And guess what? Stuff's going to flip flop, and there's going to be times where you're going to go out there with none and you're going to smoke them. So, but I will tell you, and I'm going to quote Kade Weatherford on this. Kade, I know you don't mind me doing this, but he will tell you straight up, and I believe him, at least on the land we hunt with him, that there's no getting shy to spinners. I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole, but I will say that he runs 2 in every spread, and sometimes more, but at least 2. And I've never seen a single duck flare because of it. Now, geese, yes. When it comes to specks and snows, absolutely. Especially specks. They're definitely flaring off of those. But anyway, that's interesting that they're allowing that. I don't know where it's going to go from here. If they're going to, I don't know if they have a way to gauge the impact it's having on the ducks. Are they out there, gauging, are the guys shooting and gals shooting more ducks? So I guess that'll we'll have to wait to see on that. But jumping over to Washington, they've reinstated a season on harlequin ducks. It's under an application system that allows for a draw for 38 allocated permits. So you can only shoot 38 of them. But at least you have a chance. The season had been closed for 2 seasons because the yearly take had been increasing and exceeded the harvest goals during the I guess it was the 21-22 season. So that's cool. Go get them, Washington. I'm curious to find out if you can apply for that from out of state or if it's residents only. I'll have to look into that. But Nevada, I thought that was a kind of a wild state to pop up. Increased the number of tundra swan harvest permits to 750. So that's why it's hitting the top of the news here. Allowing an additional 100 permit holders to hunt swans. Population estimates for the western tundra swans is 97,709. So it's nearly 100,000, which is 63% above the objective of 60,000. So that's awesome. Good deal. It's awesome to see that going up. So, but the hunting numbers should not have impact on their growth. New Jersey, let's jump into that. Canada goose season in the north and south zones is shortened to 30 days with a 3 goose daily limit. The coast zone season remains at 60 days, concurrent with duck season with a daily limit of 2 Canada geese. So I'm not sure on New Jersey what the change was from prior to that, but hopefully it was in for the good. And then we'll wrap it up here with Maryland. Canada goose season in the AP zone, the Atlantic population is reduced to 30 days with 2 goose daily bag limits. So that kind of wraps it up for what I'm aware of now. Definitely want to give a shout out to Delta Waterfowl for some or even a lot of what I just went through with y'all. So it's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024? Let's go into, let's talk about, which one do I want to talk about first? All right, we'll do a quick farm bill update. So all I'm going to tell you guys is I don't want to sit here and spend so much time telling you guys all the details of the changes. You need to go do your research on it because it's a serious deal. I just saw some analysts that projected only 18% projected that a decision will be made this year. This is going back to no decision last year. And then about 60% believe it's going to be in 2025, and another about 20%, I think it was 2026. So the problem with that is that it gets worse for us the more time goes on. Go read about it. But they are making progress with it right now. And that's the thing I want to point out. If you go check any of your media channels, just do a YouTube search. There's a bunch of releases within the last 6 days, some of them even today. So just go check those out, make yourself aware. But understand that if you don't know what the Farm Bill Act is, it's the single largest, plug of money that the United States gets, because it all goes to private land owners and farmers. And that, is most of our property here in America. It's privately owned. So, that's the habitat for the animals that we hunt. And it's extremely vital that this happens. I think I saw a number that it's worth about 1.5 or 1.6 trillion dollars. So you guys get involved where you can with your local representatives if you can. I know you can go on to I believe you can go on to different websites, and you can go on and make your feelings known. So which one am I got two things to talk about. So I'll just save this one for last, but let's go ahead and talk about the pintails. So what's going on with the pintails? Everybody thinks that the pintail limits have gotten changed, and that's all of us just want to be excited about it because we want to shoot more than one. Everybody thinks it's 3. It's not. Everybody thinks there's changes. There hasn't been. But what you guys basically need to understand is that there's a strategy change to the way that they go about judging the habitat and the overall conditions of the pintail. And so they're taking on basically a new strategy. And I'll just talk about what they talk about here from Delta Waterfowl real quick. So it says, for the first time in nearly 30 years, duck hunters in the lower 48 states could have the chance to shoot 3 pintails a day as soon as 2025-26 season, a possible outcome of interim population and harvest strategy being put in place by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So here's check this out. Based on a new integrated population model for pintails, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Regulations Committee on May 17th adopted an interim northern pintail harvest strategy to guide setting of regulations for the new season. So here's the first thing I want to break down about this. It's exciting to see that they're thinking outside the box. All right. And maybe that motivation's coming from some of these folks that are in these positions that are like, no, dude, there's a lot of pintails out there. I don't talk to anybody that goes, if there's pintails in the area, people say that they see pintails. Let's just face it. If you're somebody that's not in a pintail area, then obviously you're not going to see pintails, all right? But the fact that they're even doing that and adopting a new strategy and going a different way of assessing is incredible, in my opinion. And no doubt it's going to be more productive because of technology. It's just going to. So it goes on to say here that the new strategy, which was developed based on banding, population survey, and harvest data, allows 4 options. Bag limits could be 3 pintails daily, 2, 1, or completely closed season for the Mississippi, Central, and Pacific flyways. The Atlantic flyway will have a 3 pintail daily limit every season unless the model calls for a closed season in the other 3 flyways. How crazy is that? So I will say, from being an Atlantic flyway hunter, that seems so polar opposite to me. To me, it seems like Pacific flyway should be that way and Atlantic should be never change from 1. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, you Atlantic flyway folks, especially some of my Florida hunters, we see some pintails, and there's pintails that get shot. But it's nothing like we see in pintails up in the Midwest. It's nothing like the pintails, I've never been there, but on the Pacific coast. So that to me is confusing. I'm going to have to be more educated on that and learn a little bit more about that. But it goes on to say here, the new model, the new data is some of the best science. So there it is right there we've ever had on pintails, said Jerome Ford, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Assistant Director, in application of the new strategy we're trying to learn. So the Service Regulations Committee supports the implementation moving forward with the Pintail Working Group proposed interim harvest strategy. The revised strategy addresses stakeholder concerns with the current strategy, and the important technical updates conform with the idea of using the best available science to support harvest management decisions. That's so cool. So awesome. I've been waiting to see stuff like this. Under adaptive harvest management, which was put in use in 1995 and update for pintails in 2010, only 3 regulatory options for pintails exist: 2 birds daily, 1 or closed season. Regulations for the 24-25 season are already set, so just make sure you understand that. The biggest difference in the new model factors in the harvest rate, which is the percentage of the population taken by hunters rather than just looking at the total harvest from the prior year as a predictor for the upcoming season's harvest, said Dr. Chris Nicolai. He's a waterfowl scientist for Delta Waterfowl. The new model makes predictions based on the observed proportion of pintails shot, not on the estimated number of what hunters shot the previous season. Very cool stuff on the pintails, guys. And I guess I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up with, if you haven't heard, giant news in the waterfowl industry. Giant news in the conservation industry. $100 million donation was just made to Ducks Unlimited. The single largest donation in Ducks Unlimited history. Y'all, if you know Mario, he's a good friend of mine. He is a part of their staff. And I'm just going to kind of break it down what he sent me, because I know it's all factual. So Cox Enterprises commits $100 million to Ducks Unlimited Wetlands America Trust. It goes on to say it's one of the biggest he says goes on to say that it is the largest single donation in history. That's just an incredible thing. You guys think about what $100 million is going to do. You guys can go on to Ducks Unlimited, ducks.org, and check out the whole article yourself. I'm not going to break it down for y'all, but this is just incredible news. And congratulations to Ducks Unlimited. Congratulations to all of you folks that are part of our cult of supporting Ducks Unlimited, out there doing the donations and building up support and donating your time and resources to an incredible organization. Hats off to those guys today. But for me, that wraps it up. Tristan will be back on the next episode, but I really just wanted to dive on here tonight and just kind of break down some important news in the waterfowl industry for you guys, and can't wait to connect next time. Y'all have a good night.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on a midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.